Well, we're here, so let's get started, I guess. First question is, does anyone know the make of the car on the picture? Good guess, but no. Say again, sorry? No. I'll give you a clue. It's one that even I hadn't heard of before, so. It's called a Waymo. So I was in San Francisco last week. We had a company conference. It's been virtual for the last few years, so really fortunate to go out there to meet the rest of the team, people that I speak with on a daily basis, but get to meet them face to face. We got there a little bit early, and a few of us, in fact, one person in the room over there, one of my colleagues, we hired a car and we drove through San Francisco, through the Golden Gate Bridge, snaking our way through the mountains and even looking at some redwoods. What we noticed as we were driving through, and we had to double take, was a car just driving, and it had no one in it. Now, we all have elements of assisted driving, I'm sure, in the cars that we drive, but to see a fully fledged car with no one in it driving and some with passengers in the back was quite amazing to see. I guess the reason I mention this, San Francisco, California has some regressive parts of society, the homelessness, etc., but they're also very forward-leaning, especially in the tech. So this, I think we will see probably here in the next 5 years. At Anomali, we're also trying to do things which are, in inverted commas, futuristic, and that's what I hope to relay during this presentation. So we'll get started with that. So Steve Benton, in small print over there, ex-CSO of BT, now the VP of Anomaly Threat Research, coined this phrase, the 3 grips. So in terms of getting a good grip on your overall security posture, there's these 3 buckets or 3 areas that really the grips need to be taken on. One is threat landscape. So threat landscape is about visibility, particularly external visibility, and ensuring that you have that external visibility to hand. Understanding the security posture, so how resilient you are to an attack, where you need to improve, testing your defenses out. And then actualized threats, so dealing with threats in your organization, whether during wartime or peacetime. During wartime, it's more hands on deck, but even during peacetime, there could be threats which aren't particularly significant, but nevertheless need to be dealt with, and doing all of these things together. And then I overlay this with these 3 terms, visibility, synchronization, and speed. So visibility, if we sort of dig into it, there are 2 aspects. There's the external visibility, but there's also the internal visibility. The external visibility typically is provided by organizations that collect threat intelligence and able to disseminate it to an organization. The internal visibility comes from your own environment. This would include logs generated by the different security devices, but also alerts generated by those devices. And actually the delta difference between the raw log and the alerts is quite interesting, because that's where hidden threats can lie, where the security solution has not been able to identify threats. So that's really important. Synchronization, it's a word that I've used to try and encapsulate what I'm trying to get across over here. So this is the whole organization being synchronized, from the tech level all the way to people and process. So integrations not being siloed. We're now at an age where solutions that you might have in-house need to really be integrated with other solutions, because they can act as a force multiplier and increasing the efficacy of other solutions. Leadership. Leadership is very important. I think it was last week in the conference, someone mentioned a statement by Peter Drucker, culture eats strategy for breakfast. So leadership is very important, and that infiltrates all the way throughout the organization. Then there's collaboration as well. That's external collaboration and internal. So external collaboration is collaborating with your peers. An attack happens in another organization similar to yours. If you could have some of that information at hand, then you're more likely to protect yourself against that similar attack that might be coming your way. The internal collaboration is between different teams. So you have IR, you have the SOC, you have vulnerability, and all of them speaking to each other and relaying information. Give you an example, the CTI team become aware of a threat actor, and that threat actor uses a number of micro attack techniques. It would be great for that collaboration to allow that team to pass on those techniques to the red team, so that they can, in their next exercise, perform those type of attacks to see how well prepared they are for that. And then speed. So speed does matter, obviously taking context into account, because there's no point of really just getting through tickets or alerts which are meaningless. So context is important. but being able to really do this very, very quickly. And that includes things like historical look back. So not just real time, but being able to apply that over a year's worth of logs or even longer, because as we all know, the attack lifecycle does take quite some time. Ease of use. So this would be actually searching through the data and doing it as quickly as possible. So going away from the traditional approach of having those with really strong technical skills to create a search, but just asking in a natural way, have I been impacted by something, literally like that, and getting the answer back. And AI, machine learning, NLP, they all help towards this. And at Anomali, we've incorporated this, and I'll touch upon that as we go through this. Cloud. I think everyone realizes that cloud systems, if you have the appetite for it, is a better solution. I can tell you at Anomali, we have all the latest features on cloud-based solutions. It's just easier to deploy on cloud, staging servers, applying updates seamlessly without any downtime, versus on-premise solutions where an update needs to be created for different flavors of OSs that the on-prem might support, and then the reliance on the customer to actually go through the change control process to apply that update. All the while maintaining a security narrative that talks upstream to the business and aligned with business goals. So quite a challenge. At Anomali, what we do fundamentally is collect all threat intelligence and have that as a store, which gets placed into an intelligence center that can be used for lookups, can be used for enrichments, and can be used to disseminate or automate some of that data across to your security tools, your security controls, because they can all do with good threat intelligence so that they can continue to do their jobs more efficiently. If you like, the threat intelligence is like the engine oil behind those solutions. And then passing that through to a security analytics solution, which can utilize all of that and really look back a long period of time, has access to all of your logs, and apply that intelligence to discover threats that might have occurred a year ago, and being able to do that really efficiently. So some of the outcomes that we're looking for is operationalizing threat intelligence. So that's the mechanics of bringing everything together, curating it. So you need some machine learning to be able to do that. And then being able to disseminate that to wherever you need it to go to. So the plumbing is in place, and being agnostic and not being siloed to one or two solutions. That talks to the security control automation. So you take your SIEM, you take your firewall, you take your EDR. They're all good at what they do, which is monitoring, blocking, etc. And if you were to feed it with intelligence, then they can continue to do that more effectively. Have I been impacted? So this is asking a question. If we take the example of MoveIt, and I have a short little video which I'll play later that goes into that. If you wanted to understand the impact, it'd be great if you could just ask a simple question without having to construct multiple different queries to get the answer. So this is one of the outcomes that we also provide. Proactive incident response. So rather than just using threat intelligence reactively, really understanding the threat landscape, the threat actors, understanding their techniques, and being able to apply that in your organization. I gave the example before, passing that across to the red team, so that when they decide what sort of attacks to carry out, to gauge the security posture, to use those techniques which align to a threat actor which targets your industry, because that's of higher risk. And then threat landscape analysis. This is understanding the wider threat landscape, looking at trends, looking at information which might be more digestible upstream, if you like. So some of the challenges to the SOC that we see are being able to have everything. I guess the underlying words are key over here. And everything is produced from everywhere. So there's a lot of data. And being able to respond to all of that at once. And while aligning that to business goals. So this really is a big challenge. And then trying to do this in a cost-constrained environment as well. So more with less, we think needs a bit of a rethink, because we think that more really is about getting a grip on those three elements that I had mentioned earlier. And so we find that some SecOps solutions quite often fail to deliver results based on some of these factors over here. So speed, so slow queries, running a query and for it to take a long time to return results, that can really disrupt and break workflows. Limited look back. So that's not having the data available for the length of time that is required really to uncover a threat. Or if the data is available with some SIM solutions, it may be in cold storage and therefore needs to be reactivated. And that in itself could be quite a challenge to get that done with the change control that's behind that. Training. So this comes down to ease of use. Ramping up your junior analysts, or really anyone in the team that still hasn't got the skill set for dealing with the solutions that you may have acquired, and waiting for that 3-6 months before they become good at using that solution in order to be able to use it effectively. And then you have incident response pitfalls as well. Attacks happening faster than you can deal with, and really the process in place to ensure that you're looking at what's relevant to your organization. And then intelligence, or the lack of it, the IOCs, the technical intelligence, the strategic intelligence that can be applied across your estate and through your other tools as well. So we believe that the solution needs to incorporate AI because they can help in these different areas. So with speed, being able to ask a question and getting the results back immediately is very helpful and can aid different workflows. Because there's nothing worse than executing a query and then having to go away for a while, do something else, you come back and maybe you've forgotten about the query in the first place. And then insights. So this comes across being able to apply this across a lot of data. These produce insights, and the concept of being able to automatically correlate rather than executing correlation. So you have a bed of insights that you can draw upon when you need to. They could be different indicators or IOAs associated to, for example, move it. And having that correlated automatically allows you to, when you need to look to see if you've been impacted by move it, just to ask that question and it will draw from the correlation results. And we have a resiliency and intelligence. Again, with intelligence, we're talking about having that wide bucket of intelligence that can be utilized within your organization. And curated intelligence, so intelligence that's meaningful, that's stitched together and is accurate. So becoming an elite SOC, if we have the three different stages, if you like, you have, for example, a kids football. The focus is all on the ball. More or less, they're going to kick it in the right direction, but there really is no strategy. And then as you sort of move up the maturity curve, you come to the adult game where everyone sort of knows their place in the game, and there's a coach with some coaching going on, and they're having a game. But to get to the elite level, then intelligence is required to really understand the opponent, to understand what the opponent knows about yourselves, so that you can fix those vulnerabilities or those weaknesses before the next game. And using AI, video replay, being able to get very quickly to the points in the last game where you sort of failed, so that you can review how you can do things better. So the next training games are going to be more effective before the actual next game. So elevating this, we believe some of the solutions that I mentioned in the previous slide really help there through the use of AI, being faster at what you're doing, having greater insight, the use of threat intelligence. So Anomali Copilot, and it's probably best that I sort of demonstrate it so that you have an idea of what it actually does. But really what it's doing is augmenting the analyst. It's not there to replace the analyst, just like the Iron Man suit that Tony Stark puts on. Ultimately, it is Tony Stark that's carrying out the activities that he does, but he's only able to do it really effectively by having that suit to help augment himself. I quite like the statement at the bottom, which is really trying to grasp what AI is to our industry. So it simplifies the complex, it spans the vast, finds insights and patterns, learns and remembers, intuits and suggests at breakneck speed. So with that in mind, I'm going to move across to this demo, and I'm going to talk through it. It's recorded. I recorded it. So here we have a search interface, and in the search interface, we can ask any question. In fact, there are some questions which are highlighted here, and one's being run. Have I been affected by a move IT? So it's whirring away, as you can see where my cursor is, and it's going to convert that into the query. So this is AI converting natural language into the required query. The first thing to notice is it's only one line. Though we're asking quite an expansive question, we only have one line there. This represents the fact that there isn't that much indexes in our technology. It's quite flat, it's serverless. And here we have the results which are presented to us very, very quickly. We'll be going through another example which really will test the limits of big data and getting results back. And here we have the results which shows you, for example, different indicators which are tied to Move IT. And as we scroll across, we will see the impacted systems, right? So VPN training system. The results have come back quickly, and to get those results, you could just use a natural prompt. Now there may be companies out there that operate in other languages other than English, and of course we've taken care of that as well. So we're going to do the same thing here, in this case using Arabic. And we're actually asking the question slightly differently. Has my network been impacted by Move IT? So it's taking into account the nuance in language. Doing the same thing, and what we'll see over here is the same results. So it's converted it into the backend query. So this talks to the ease of use that I was talking about before. If you imagine a junior analyst or any analyst, they don't need to get to grips with the language in order to start getting a value out of the platform. Sometimes you may come across an article or a PDF file, a Word document, Excel, that contains very useful information that you need to, or your analyst needs to really go through to understand any valuable information that they can use within their security department. As you can see, there are pages and pages, over 40, 50 A4 pages of information, which include hashes, they include signatures, and a lot of other type of intel as well. You'll notice on the top right, in a moment, I'll be clicking an extension. It's our Copilot extension. So Copilot, firstly, helped us with speed. Now it's helping us understand data as well. So once executed, it's going to actually scan the page, read the information, and then provide results in terms of, well, what's relevant on the page, what's important on the page, and more information about those type of threats. So that's going to be momentarily done. So we have the scan, we've got the summary, we've got the chat. So the scan is going to be first executed. There could be different types of IOCs on the page, IP addresses, there could be domains, hashes. There could also be more strategic information, threat actor names, malware names, attack patterns. So it's going through all of that, and it's using NLP to be able to discover this. So it goes beyond pattern matching. It's able to understand, for example, the word silence, which it wouldn't highlight on another page where silence is not used in the context of cybersecurity. And as we scroll down, we will see attack patterns at the bottom. And this is able to read a whole sentence or paragraph and then work out if it's talking about a technique, a MITRE attack technique, and tell you what it is. One of the use cases could be to operationalize the data. So if we take the IPs on the page, we can send this across to another solution, be it your SIM, be it your firewall, or monitoring, maybe blocking, they can be sent. So with a click of a button, it will set off the workflow where we'll see the automation of that data to its end destination. Now we're looking at the matches. So these are quite interesting because there are three elements in the page which have been seen in an environment. So the Copilot is telling us, I know about this, and by the way, we have seen this in your environment. So it's hooked into the security operations platform, and now we're looking at the results. Over many months, it's giving us all the different connections. We can see their firewall allow connections from different systems in our environment connecting to that IP address that we were just looking at a moment ago on the page. So if you think about the speed of analysis and the speed of search and the speed of getting to where you need to get to, it's and contrast that to having to do it sort of manually, work out what's important on the page, taking it to a SIM and trying to construct a query. It's quite quick in that way. And sometimes you might need to summarize the information in order to provide a high-level summary up the chain as well. So the summarization will do just that. It's gone through the 40, 50 pages there, and it's now giving a couple of paragraphs and and will highlight the key takeaways from the page itself. And this can be then, sent across in an email. I'm working on this new campaign that's come about. Here's some information about it, and I'll get back to you shortly on some other activities around it. It can be rendered in any language as well. And in fact, sometimes we find analysts here that avoid certain pages which are rendered in other languages because they don't know the language, and Google Translate doesn't do the job. So this would be perfect for that as well, because as an example, we're in the French cert talking about a vulnerability, and here we have the Copilot now neatly summarizing this information there as well into English or any other language. We're going to take a look at the chat. So the chat function, we're going to go back to the other web page. The chat function here is Copilot, Anomali Copilot, suggesting the questions that you could now ask based on the information on the page. Some useful questions. For example, on the page, there's a web shell that's mentioned. So there's a question around that. Or right at the bottom, around the mitigation strategies. And by selecting that question, or you can type in any other question you want, it's going to come back with a response, utilizing the data that's on the page itself and other information that is available to Anomali. Now, if you contrast this to let's say other solutions and how they would go about trying to uncover or detect this, it would probably involve going through a detection library, and we'll have a look at an example. Just take Splunk in this case over here, and they have their analytical stories. And so if you wanted to find this type of detection, you'd go to the relevant type of ransomware or threat, in this case clock ransomware, and it comprises of a number of different detection rules, and each of these detection rules has its own lines of code or search code. So this would need to be taken, placed into that system, all of them run at the same time, and then how long does it take for the results to come back? We'll give you an idea of that in a moment. Because with the Anomali Security Operations Platform, the way it's architected in terms of how the data is stored, how it's accessed, and its reason for being really is to be able to conduct that search really fast. Here's a dashboard within the Security Operations Platform. There's no data at the moment because it's set on the last 5 minutes. That's fine. It's like what we like to see. No threats in the last 5 minutes. But we'll be coming back and doing a longer time period, and you'll see the speed of search there. But we need to sort of contrast it so you get an idea of that. So here we're in Splunk. We're going to do quite a simple search. So show me everything. We need to specify indexes. In this case here, index equals all. We'll set it for 7 days and let it run. What we'll see is a search speed over here of roughly 100,000 events per second. So it's able to search through around 100,000 events per second. We'll let that go for a while, whilst we pivot now into the Anomali Security Operations Platform. And we'll look at the dashboard, and the dashboard comprises of around 50 widgets, each of these with their own queries. A bit more complicated than show me everything. So we're going to turn the last 5 minutes into the last 1 year. And we will see how quickly it gets through this. So we see near the top, events scanned, already it's at 67 billion, right, within a few seconds. And as I scroll down, each of the widgets are starting to refresh and populate, and that number is increasing. We're at 124 billion now. So it searched through 124 billion records within seconds. If I go right to the bottom, 50 widgets, data pool of around 12 billion events, and so it utilizes all of that. So we get to around 500 billion events very, very quickly. But if we were to do a like-for-like test and do a similar sort of search, then we can also do that here as well. So here we're going to effectively do the same search, show me everything, within the Anomali Security Operations Platform. Notice I don't need to specify indexes. So already the structure is quite straightforward to utilize. And again, we're going to go for last 1 year over here. Click search, and within seconds it's come back, having gone through nearly 12 billion records. This is real time, This hasn't been sped up or anything like that. And if we go back into Splunk, it's at about 10 million at the moment and going. So speed can really matter, because if you're looking for an answer, if it's going to take hours, then as I mentioned before, it can really disrupt workflow. It can really stop you doing the next step. In fact, it's so long that you can even forget about what you're doing in the first place. With that in mind, and I think I'm probably over time, I'll just end it here. And if there are any questions, please let me know. But thank you for listening to my presentation.